Each year we get a lot of great new horror games worth sinking some hours into. 2022 is no exception. We already have quite a few horror titles we think you should keep some tabs on. There are plenty of different games to check out, from some unusual novelty horror games to classic IPs getting a proper remake. For today's video, we've gathered a list of what we think are the best video games in the world right now. So without further ado, let's dive right in. Phasmophobia. Let's start this video with an extremely hyped up game, Phasmophobia. It's climbed rapidly in popularity since its early access release, growing beyond a cult following and showing no signs of slowing down. So what makes it so good? Although Phasmophobia is primarily a horror game, you could also look at it as a co-op detective game, as you and up to 3 other investigators explore a haunted location in an effort to conclude what type of ghost is spooking out the premises before reporting back. It requires a lot of teamwork, your best detective hat, and steady nerves to navigate the dark, tight corridors and spookily quiet rooms. Using equipment such as Ouija boards, a spirit box, a crucifix, and a smudge sticks, you and your team need to investigate the haunting and complete tasks such as taking pictures of dirty water or asking the ghost questions. Be careful though. All of your prying is probably going to upset the ghost, and you don't want to be around when it starts hunting you. Resident Evil Village. Next up, we have a game from the infamous series Resident Evil. Resident Evil Village. It never gets any easier for its main protagonist, Ethan Winters. We first meet Ethan in Resident Evil 7 when his long-lost wife strangely makes contact, and he sets out to find her, leading him to a creepy swamp cabin and a nasty run-in with the unsavory residents, the Baker family. Luckily, Chris Redfield swoops in to save Ethan, and his life regains some normality, if not for long. Ethan's world is once again turned upside down in Resident Evil 8. This time he's stuck in an isolated village inhabited by monsters and wild villagers. Resident Evil Village may be remembered for its appealing antagonist, the Tall Lady, but this first-person survival game soon lets loose the scares. Resident Evil has a long storied history of good and bad games, with Resident Evil 6 being a low point. This game's up in the higher levels. It's a tense adventure where you need to have your brains to survive crowds of werewolf-like creatures, undead thralls, and other horrifying monsters. Even the Tall Lady has long, sharp claws capable of slicing limbs off. If you can't stomach body horror, this may not be the right Resident Evil game for you. Darkwood. For the next game on our list, we've got to say that sound doesn't get enough credit in horror games, and if you ever need a reminder of how powerful a simple noise or distant knock can be, seek out one of the best indie games to investigate into the horror genre, Darkwood. This is a top-down horror game about a mysterious man cooking mushrooms in a house right in the middle of a plague-infested forest. When it's light outside, you're free to roam the decaying woods, fighting off rabid dogs, collecting resources, and trying to figure out who you are and how you ended up here. But by night, your only option is to get back to the house and wait for the horrors of the night to pass you by. You can load up your generator with fuel to ward off enemies, barricade the windows to hide yourself, and set traps as a last line of defense. But they're going to come for you, no matter how well you've prepared. Darkwood's ability to ooze into your pores and haunt you without showing you as much as a limb is eerie. Rustling sounds, inhuman shrieks, and creaky doors had us smashing Alt F4 and walking away from the desktop over and over. Don't let the top-down perspective fool you. This is one of the best horror games out there. And Amnesia: The Dark Descent. As much as we believe them to be, nightmares aren't much like horror games. They don't tend to have rules that make sense. But Amnesia: The Dark Descent is genuinely nightmarish. This is a horror game in which monsters can get you no matter what, in which sneaking and hiding from these creatures is your only means of self-defense, and in which simply looking at the monsters can drive you crazy. You almost literally curl up into the fetal position and shut your eyes when this game's monsters are in the room, using audio cues to guess when they've left. Few horror games are frightening like this game, which sticks by the golden rule of horror. Fear of the unknown is the most powerful fear of all. There's a sequel, Amnesia: A Machine for Pigs, which is just as psychologically arresting. Well, that wraps up our video today. Which horror game is the scariest for you? Let us know in the comments below. Be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel while you're at it. And thanks so much for watching Nano 10s. We'll see you next time.